Yes, the Wyze Thermostat is here. So we're going to do a quick unboxing, installation, and first impressions. Let's get started. Hey guys, I'm Scott with Before You Buy, where we do product reviews to make sure it's what you want before you buy it. And today, yes, we have the Wyze Thermostat. This has been on pre-order since it was released. I saw it was only $50, which is incredibly cheap compared to other thermostats. And our local utilities even had a bigger discount, more on that later. And here we are. I paid for this for my own money. It's not a sponsored video. I have no affiliation with Wyze. So just to get that out of the way, let's get into what's in the box. So first you'll see the setup guide. You won't really need this too much because the app actually handles most of this, but more on that later. You also get the back plate for the connections of all the wires, and of course the stickers that help you remember which wire goes where, which really comes in handy, especially if you don't know what you're doing. The thermostat is extra shiny. I'm not a huge fan of that, but man, it sure looks pretty when it is clean. They also give you the tools you need to get the job done, but I personally just found it easier to use my own mini screwdriver set that I have from all the electronics I take apart. And finally, they do include a converter that you may or may not have to use depending on which wires you currently have running to your thermostat and currently installed. But again, more on that as we set it up through the app. So real quick, I'm going to show you how easy this thing is to install. First things first, you come over to your phone because that's where it all begins with the manual and all of that. And yes, you may have seen that it is actually 12:45 in the morning. This is when I record videos for you, and this is where we're going to get the job done. I'm going to actually zoom in here so you can see my screen and see me at the same time. And I will also be putting some of this information off to the side here. So the easiest thing to do is actually all you have to do is hit add. You say add a device, and then you're going to scroll down and choose your thermostat, Wyze Thermostat. It kind of gives you some information, what you need to do, and then you just say begin preparation. It says, get your tools you need, which are included. Shut off your breaker. Most thermostats have a switch on the, or not thermostats, most furnaces have that switch on the side, which is fantastic. Then all you do is have to pop off your thermostat, which is usually just apply a little force. Oh, and also, check this out. Real quick, I'm actually going to have high voltage or low voltage system. Basically, does it run on 2 or 120 or not? So no. And then what you can do is you can take a picture of your current setup, which is absolutely fantastic. Brilliant idea, Wyze. Wow. I got to hand it to your team. This way, if you have to go back, you can go back, and if you want, you can check that box to say that you can upload the photo to Wyze to help them, but it's up to you what you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just say skip this because I've already done this. If you do have a jumper wire, which I did, you just have to remove that first. Keep all your other wires connected though. But here's what I was going to show you. Look at this show me how. This is absolutely brilliant because now when I click this,
if you have a short jumper wire connecting the two terminals and not going into the wall,
look at this.
Go ahead and remove it now, as it won't be needed for your Wyze Thermostat.
Not needed.
To remove it, you may need to slightly unscrew a terminal or press down on a lever.
Brilliant.
Make sure not to remove any other wires going.
If you don't know what you're doing, you just watch the video. It guides you through it on every single step, guys. This Wyze. Bravo. Bravo. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. So here was my current setup. I had the green wire, the RC wire, the yellow, and the white wire. Okay, those are the 4 wires I had. So I'm going to say next. And this says you will need to install the C adapter. And that's the adapter that comes with the box that I showed you. So I did have to do that. But again, before you continue, you have to say, yes, my heating and cooling system is still currently off, which again is pretty sweet. Making sure you're safe, making sure you're knowing what you're doing. So I'm going to hit begin. Again, it says go to your furnace. If you have any questions, it shows you how. I had to take my panel off. Don't be too scared. I'll say I'm kind of in between like a handyman and no idea. I'm like spot in the middle. I'm not great, but I'm not afraid. Does that make sense? So again, you can open the camera because now we're going to get into the control board down below in your furnace. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. Again, you got the labels, the stickers to label all your wires. Brilliant, Wyze. Thank you for including those. And then you are ready to disconnect those. So then you can connect it to the C board connector. Okay, you're going to connect all the wires back in using the C controller. You connect them to the C wire adapter, right? And then, because you've labeled them all, then you're going to connect that back to the board. Mine actually had a little wiring harness, as you can see, and that just made it a lot easier, but some furnaces won't have that wiring harness. And then you put it back in. And here's one thing I did real quick step is I actually thought, hey, I'm going to just turn this on to make sure it works before I put the panels back on. Not that the panels take 5 seconds to do, but then I realized, oh yeah, there's a trigger switch on the panels. So if the panel's open, it actually won't start your furnace unless you tape that down or hold that down. So long story short, if you don't think your device is working because you wired it wrong, it might just because you didn't put your panel back on. So make sure you do that. Okay, time to go back up to the thermostat. Again, making sure you got that furnace system off. You can say begin. Now, this is where it comes, tricky, because I just assumed. Don't assume, okay? Look at the wires. In fact, they even highlighted the ones that should change. So they actually changed my G wire to, or my G terminal to C terminal, okay? So make sure you label those properly. Again, they got to include those stickers. They're fantastic. Thank you, Wyze. You step on through. All other wires you can just go ahead and ignore. How sweet is that? Next, then you just unscrew your old thermostat back plate. Pretty straightforward. And you install the new plate and pull the wires through and shove them in. Now this is pretty sweet. Again, same type of thing.
If you do not want to use the optional wall plate, you can remove it prior to threading the wires through the back panel.
Easy. And then you basically just push the buttons down and install the wires that way. So I'm going to show you. You install that. Right here is what I was going to show you.
To connect the wires to the back panel,
Push
the lever down and
super easy. Push the button down, shove the wire in. And when it's
fully connected, the lever will stay down.
Wyze, you're stealing all my content. Because now what am I going to say? But seriously, you push down the button, you push it in, and if it stays down, that means you're good to go. Okay? Push next, and then you just have to attach this. Push it on. Make sure all these pins on the back are lined up, and you can see kind of the pins there and there. Kind of covering up my QR code just in case, but it does have a little sensor on the bottom, I've noticed. I'm not exactly sure what the difference between that sensor and the sensor up here is. This one's probably the front facing sensor, so when you walk up to it, it lights up. So this might be the thermometer or temperature sensor. I don't know exactly. But you take this and you throw it on the panel, clips right in, and then you go and turn your system back on. And bada bing, bada boom, there is the Wyze. You are ready to go. There's a few questions I'm going to say go ahead and exit here. There's a few questions at the actual setup after you do that, and basically just says, is it gas or electric furnace? And is it forced air or radiator furnace? You select the right thing, and boom. You are up and running. Good job. You've just installed your own thermostat. But how cool is that they just walk you through it on an app? No more like, IKEA stick figure instructions. An app that literally walks you through it with video instructions. Man, thank you, Wyze. Brilliant. Your team did a good job. So now I have to go install the Wyze Thermostat so I can show you on the app all the different features and everything, because right now it's showing it's offline. But before I do that, real quick, if this video is helping you, please consider smashing that like and subscribe button. Again, I have no affiliation with Wyze. I'm getting no kickback for this. So if this is helping you, that's one way you can help me out. Thank you. Whew, that's hot. Okay, so if I dive into the living room thermostat, you can see it's currently 70 degrees in my living room with 37% humidity. Okay, and the heat is currently set to 65. Now, if I hit this controls button down at the bottom, you can see I can either say if I'm home, if I'm away, or if I'm sleeping. Now, I kind of have those set similar, and I'll explain that more later. But and then on mode, you can have either auto mode, which would be both heat and cool, or just heat, or just cool, or entirely off. I probably wouldn't recommend the off very often, that's for sure. Same with fan, you can have auto, which means it only runs when the system is either heating or cooling. Cycle, which means, it's going to run every so many minutes, which you can also program so many per hour, or just the fan constantly on. Okay, and here's one feature I like is when you hit that hold button, it asks you hold until what date and what time. Look at that. So I can say hold until, I probably wouldn't want to do that, hold until after Christmas at a given time. And I can choose the time, let's say in the morning, right? Begin hold, boom, it's held until then. So that's pretty fantastic. So if you are going to be offline, or your temperature is going to be the same while grandma's staying with you, you can just hit that hold button, say boom until when she leaves. There you go. That's pretty fantastic. And then unfortunately I don't have a whole lot of information here, but this is the insights button up in the corner there, that graph. And I only have today, or yesterday, because remember it's late, o'clock. But yesterday is my only information, how much the heat actually ran. And a lot of that was probably just testing, to be honest. So there we go. Now, if I dive into settings here, here's where you can kind of get more custom stuff. You can name it what you want. You can share it if you have another Wyze account that you want to share it with. So for instance, I own a gym, and let's say I want to share that thermostat with my personal account so I can control it there. That'd be one, for instance, or if you have another Wyze account for your family. Notifications. This is actually kind of a cool idea. So if the temperature is super cold in your house, so for instance, some people in my family go down south for the winter, they could get a notification if their house gets too cold. I really love that idea. Or if there's even some insights on how you can save energy. Some people like those, some people don't. And then behavior is similar, where if you want it more savings, you want it more comfort, right in the middle. For the time being, I thought I'm just going to keep it in the middle and see what happens. Okay, so generally in the past I would have bumped it down to savings, but I've actually been working from home a lot, and I work through the night now on YouTube, and my kids are home, my wife's home a lot, so it's going to be less savings for me and more just keep it consistent lately. Maybe that's the same for you too, but you can kind of see that with my schedule here. As you dive in, I put sleep and home schedule. They're basically the same temperatures there because of that, right? As I mentioned, we're mostly home, and when I'm recording at 1 a.m., as you can see in the corner, I don't want to have to deal with being freezing cold, I might have to start wearing a sweatshirt at some point here soon. Okay. Temperature preferences. This is where you program all of that. And then the auto switch, this would be, you would have to basically say allow notifications or allow locations. So when you get home, it'll automatically find you, sense you, bump up the temperature. Okay, so that's one thing. If you, I'm trying to think of a good example of that, because you'd probably almost want it warm by the time you get home. You're gonna bump it up as soon as you get home. So, I'm not exactly sure when you'd want that, unless, you kind of have a sporadic, schedule. I don't know. Maybe you guys comment down below what you think. Would you use that? And then you can lock your thermostat. You can still turn the dial and dive into settings there, but it doesn't do anything. You can dive through information, which I'll show you. But other than that, this would be great for kids, or you have a thermostat at the gym or something like that. You can turn the dial all you want, but it's not going to do anything. You can unlock it from that interface too, though, just so you know. Filter management, I think this is a great idea. I love that they did this. You can actually add a filter. I'm going to say add. You can say how long your filter should last, and mine was 6 months. And then you dive into the size of yours, and I think mine's 20 by 25 and 5. And you just click next, and boom, there it is. You can call it what you want, furnace filter. Maybe you have multiple, maybe you have one on each side. I don't know. I know there's all kinds of filtering and all that. But one thing I wish you could do, and maybe you can do, is, I haven't figured out how though, is, my filter is actually only a few weeks old, but let's say it was mostly used. I mean, it's going to start at 0%. So keep that in mind. The first time you might have to actually, you can hit reset filter. But at the same time, just keep that in mind. That first time, you might have to replace it and then hit reset filter. But I love the fact that it's going to warn you when your filter is time to replaced, or at least check it, So mine says 6 to 9 months on the box. So system test, this is pretty cool. It allows you, when you're first setting it up, this is one of the things it does. And I'm just going to say finish there, but basically allows you to test the heat, test the cooling, make sure it's all working. Coast to cool, it kind of explains that, but basically will kick off the AC, but still blow that cold air through that it currently has in the line all the way out. It just kind of helps save some more energy there. The energy you've already used to cool the whole line and the ductwork and all that, so you might as well use that to your advantage. Safety temperatures, this is where you can set your, too hot, too cold, what you want to do there. And I'm going to bump that up to probably 50 minimum. And I probably want to be notified if it ever hits 90 for sure. So I'm going to do that. This is where I mentioned the fan cycle. So if you do want it to run so much time, how much per hour when you choose cycle, that mode cycle. So let's say you want it to run 10 minutes per hour just to kind of, recycle the air in the house. And then temperature correction, if your thermometer isn't reading properly, or maybe it's in the sun most of the day or something like that, which that probably wouldn't be a great example technically, because, it would be at night, you'd be freezing cold. But I think this would actually be maybe, another room is always 5 degrees colder that you want to be at 70 degrees, okay? So then you could put this at, offset of 5 degrees, so then that way when that room gets up to 75, the other room is 70, if that makes sense. Temperature correction, humidity correction, same type of deal, but with humidity. And then you can choose your Fahrenheit or Celsius. Now, that's the app. That's all the settings. There's a lot to it, and it's pretty fantastic if you ask me. So what don't I like about this so far? Well, I can say, especially since I had to install the C adapter, it's a little more complicated, a little more scary because I had to take the furnace cover off, but it walks you through every step of it. It's pretty fantastic if you ask me. And I also hate how glossy it was. You can see every little fingerprint smudge and all of that. Just kind of drives me crazy. I wish it was just kind of more of a matte black finish. I would appreciate that a little more, because I have sweaty hands, so everything I touch that's glossy is just going to look nasty. Just the way it is. But with those few cons comes a lot of pros. So, I mean, obviously with scheduling, it's a smart device, so it's infinite amounts of schedules, right? Which is pretty cool. And just being able to automate things. So as you walk in the door, or when you're away, you can schedule things, or you can kick it up because, you're coming back from vacation, you're going to be home in 5 hours, you want it to be warm, or you want it to be cold when you finally get home. That's the kind of stuff that's huge, just that remote access. And the build quality actually seems incredibly solid. I love the tactile feel as you rotate that dial. You can kind of feel those clicks, but it's not like a click. It's just a nice little notch feel, but it's an infinite dial, which is fantastic. And then as you push it in, it just, everything, the build actually feels solid even though it's plastic, which I really appreciate. And the best thing, I think, honestly, is the value. The value, $50 for this thermostat, a smart thermostat that connects to the internet, that controls, these systems. How incredible is that? And as I mentioned, my utility company, this is one thing you may want to check in on, allows a rebate. So this is only $50. Okay, so I went to their website, I bought it, $50 plus shipping. I don't remember exactly because I bought a few other things. But $50. And then my utility company had a 50% rebate up to like $100 or something. So I basically got this for 25 bucks. It's incredible. Maybe it's 30 after shipping, but $30. And I just had it when I bought this house. I actually had a dumb thermostat, so it couldn't even do a schedule at all. So for 30 bucks, now I can control it with my phone anywhere in the world. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. So, okay, so now I'm going to be doing a full review eventually. So leave those comments down below. What do you want me to test? What do you want to see with the smart thermostat from Wyze? First impressions, pretty solid. Also, I'm going to leave the link down below to literally buy me a cup of coffee if you see fit. So it's just, it's late o'clock, and this is how I make these videos and keep going. So thanks for all the support, and keep on coming. It's late. Until next time. See ya.